Hi, friends. Continuing with the exploration of the tomfoolery of people with too much money spending money on things they shouldn't be doing. Again, I hope that the crew of the Titan get safely back. With all my heart, I hope this. But once again, I look at the papers and I see there's a man there, 48 years old, who took his 19-year-old son. And they supposedly love adventure and science and exploration. There is no scientific purpose that I can think of to getting into this can and being spam in a can for 250,000 a pop. So now we're to understand that a father has taken his 19-year-old son and spent $500,000 to do it, to get into this tube and to dangerously descend to the Titanic and spend an half hour tooling around a bit and peering out of the small porthole. If anything happens, you would have to say, although the 19-year-old is technically and legally a man, you'd have to say that his father had a hand in killing him. Because if it were me, I wouldn't do it. If it were me and I looked at the risks and I read these waivers and I looked into it, before I did it, of course, I'd say, no. Skydiving, yes, because you can do static line skydiving. There's lots of skydiving you can do, that's 99.999% safe. There's other skydiving that's a little bit, more adventurous and therefore a little bit more risky. But there is skydiving that is absolutely safe. So I take my daughter skydiving or zip line, even base jumping, there bungee jumping. There's all kinds of adventures. And if you want scientific adventure, how about you take the 500,000, you go down to the rainforest and just collect new species of insects and bring them back in good condition for scientists to have. I don't know. This is not it. This reminds me a little bit of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was such a revered figure because he scored a lot of points in basketball. He was lionized and treated as a cultural icon. He was a basketball player, an extremely good basketball player, a dedicated basketball player, and one would suppose a dedicated father. But he killed his daughter. And it's brutal to say that, and it's not polite to say that, but it has to be said because he had the power of money and fame, and it seems he pressured, subtly or not subtly, the helicopter pilot to fly that helicopter when all other helicopters were not flying because they needed to get to some basketball clinic. And he thought, we can do this. And they couldn't do it. They augured in. So, this question was not asked because there's this cultural pressure and the media bends to it, bows to it. We're not going to even cover that. We're just going to talk about the tragedy. Well, I read some newspaper articles and they didn't say it explicitly, but it was implied. He made the decision to encourage the pilot to feel comfortable about flying when the conditions were extremely unfavorable for helicopter flying, especially someone who was not highly experienced with hazy conditions. And if I'm not mistaken, his was the only helicopter flying that morning in that area, in that region. And they died. So yes, he was a great basketball player. And yes, people loved him. And yes, he was a dedicated father. He also killed his daughter. And this guy, if anything happens to him, he killed his son because he spent $500,000 to be spam in a can. Wake up, have breakfast in your garden, read poetry, and if you're going to spend money, think thrice before you drop it on these so-called adventures and this so-called exploration.